Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in once again to the Duval Dive. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, a student of the game of Fans First Sports Network, but writing only. I have to say that now because of all sorts of new things that are happening. You may have noticed our new background. This is officially our first launch with the Believe Network, so shouts to them. I had to get the bell for that one, didn't I? So yeah, but you may notice that the person to the stage right, I don't know, how does that work in the pod world? Anyways, that is not my personal champion over here. That is none other than the general Mike Patton of Touring the AFC South, who's stepping in for Travis, who is on assignment. By assignment, meaning he's, traveling with his family. So lucky him, I guess. But General, welcome in, man. It's great to have you aboard. And it's great to have you fill the seat on Travis's behalf. There is a question that Travis will have asked us as he's stepping on the plane. We'll get to that later. But as somebody who presides over the AFC South and tours it on the regular as you do, I just had to get your thoughts opening up out of the way, as is required here amongst the Duval Devout, to comment with all the Travis Hunters out there about Travis Hunter and the defensive stuff you've heard out of the OTAs. Obviously, there's that big highlight clip of him making the pass defended. And it's defended, not defensed, thank you, but making the pass defended. And while people argue he didn't catch it for the INT, the fact that he bent his body in a very particular way to make it close, I thought was impressive. But what do you make so far of Travis Hunter showing potential evidence that he may be able to walk what he's talking, playing more than one position?
I've got to say he's as advertised right now. To me, defensively, I think he's going to end up being better. That's just my thoughts. But of course, he could also just throw a curveball at me and be great on the offensive side of the ball. But the one thing that is true is he is a one-of-one athlete. That cannot be questioned.
Oh yeah, to say the least. And I would even add this too. As far as playing corner goes, I can make the argument that he'll have less help, right? As a receiver, BTJ, Brian Thomas Jr. is already on the other side. De'Ami Brown is your number 3. And all the way down, Jaguar favorite Parker Washington currently is at the number 4 spot. Not a terrible core, pretty easy to get open. One might lament the departure of Evan Ingram at the tight end spot, but I think you'll be okay with Brendan Strange and check down. But let's be real. The separation out there is going to be a bit easier with all that speed there. Whereas on the defensive backside, it's Tyson Campbell, Jarian Jones, and a lot of other guys. Sure, they brought in some veterans, but it feels like he has a little less help on that side of it. Are you feeling that theory before I move on?
Well, I would say less dependable help. Now, Jordan Lewis, he's had some injuries along his journey, so let's not forget that. Tyson Campbell has not been healthy during his time, and now he's paid to be the number 1 corner. So we have that. And Jerry Jones is definitely a guy that was out there last year and kind of did his thing when he was called upon as well. So I would say probably less help just because of the injuries at the position. Yes. Offensively, I would say, it's going to be interesting. But just overall, it's going to be interesting to see how Travis Hunter picks up the technique, the little intricacies of playing wide receiver and defensive back, and how he's able to translate those. If he's able to translate those seamlessly, then he's going to be smooth at both positions. But what I do think is that he's not probably going to truly be great at one position because he spends time doing the other. So he's going to be good at both positions, but not necessarily great at both positions because he's spending time doing one and the other.
Yeah, he may not be great out the gate, but hey, to your point, let's let the story unfold. I mean, we were promised the same volume of snaps as he was at Colorado, which I'm still not buying. But yeah,
not me either.
Yeah, listen. I'll not forget when I was talking to Matt Leinart with Big Noon Saturday. It was actually for the Black and Gold Manorette when Colorado came to town last season at the Bounce House. Big Noon Saturday. I asked Matt Leinart, "Hey, you were a college athlete. How's he doing it?" I got a good 15-second pause before he just basically gave me something along the lines of, he's just different. I don't remember exactly what he said. You could check it out on the Night Shift podcast or Night Shift YouTube channel more specifically. But yeah, hearing Matt Leinart even be stumped by it is its own question. But speaking of questions and things from the past, Dawuane Smoot back in the land of Duval. He comes in. I think I saw a stat somewhere, and I believe this was on friend of the show, Dan Griffiths, Action Sports Jacks, who had this on his Twitter account, that now the 3 best historical Jaguars at pass rushing are all on this squad. So coming in at the defensive end position, though, does confuse me a little bit. I feel like you're starting to get a bit of a crowded room there. What direction do you think that this will take that space, Mike?
Honestly, with Smoot, I looking at him, I see him kind of maybe being a guy that kind of moves inside more than outside. I like Smoot, but I don't like him outside. So to me, yeah, you bump him down inside a little bit more. Use him kind of like Danico Autry was used with the Titans. You kind of lined him up outside, lined him up inside, kind of a utility guy, along your line. Not necessarily a starter, but a guy that can play multiple different positions, maybe spell a guy for a couple series, something like that, and still make an impact. So that's how I kind of envision Smoot and his impact when it comes to the Jacksonville Jaguars and their defensive line and what all the things he can do. I see them, saying outside defensive end, stuff like that, but I see him more being pushed inside and helping out in between the tackles a little bit more.
Well, I would even add this too, that this has kind of an Arden Key kind of a feel to it, something that would kind of reach through both Titan and Jaguar spaces there too. I could see that take. And for me, when I see this, they've already gotten Ogba from Miami. They drafted McLeod already, Jalen McLeod. I had a long conversation with Jordan DeLugo last week, I think it was 2 weeks ago, rather, about his role being another pass rusher. I kind of feels like this to me that this means McLeod's going to step back. He's not going to have his hand in the dirt. I feel like this could make him more of a stand-up linebacker option, which we were told McLeod can do, in a similar fashion to where Trayvon Walker was brought in, that he was somebody who could move around in and outside, that kind of thing, as a versatile player, versatility being a key thing for the Jags. And now that they've actually brought in Dennis Gardick from the Cardinals, a signing that was just announced today, I don't know what the heck is going on with the defensive front and how they're moving that around. I don't know. All right. Does this confuse you too? I have no idea what to make of any of it, General. If you have anything that can bring some solidarity or some better understanding than I'm bringing, please, I'll hear it.
Well, here's the thing with the defense. Under Anthony Campanile, I think is how you say his last name. My apologies if I said it wrong. But they're going to be more of a multiple or hybrid defense with a 3-4 and 4-3. So I kind of see where they're bringing in different little pieces to be kind of, ins and outs of the 3-4 and the 4-3, just depending upon, which team, what matchup, things like that. Bringing in a veteran as such from Arizona, not necessarily a guy that put up gaudy numbers, 17 sacks over his career. But he's a guy that's been in multiple different defenses, a guy that can, line up outside for you, but also maybe put his hand in the dirt as well. Just gives you another different look. Maybe a guy that makes the team, maybe a guy that maybe shows a few things in camp. We'll see. But ultimately, a guy that can do multiple different things and line up multiple different ways, which is what Campanile wants with this defense.
See, and I appreciate you saying that, General, because it sets me up for one of my favorite Pattonisms. We shall see. That's right. No, and listen, there's a little bit there with what Campanelli's doing. You mentioned the variable defense there. Another guy that used to run a variable defense that I talked about a lot in the Dolphins wire days would have been Brian Flores. So that's another example of a guy who runs a defense like that. If you're looking for one that kind of look and feel, Campanile was known as a run stopper guy, but obviously he'll have to concentrate on the entire defense now that Liam Coen is going from an offensive coordinator to caring about the whole team. It's the same kind of a concept, maybe just on a different scale, but that's another piece for another time. So with that in mind, the main question, the main event, the fascinating piece that I wanted to bring to the table was actually a question that was first stoked by my personal champion himself, Travis D. Holmes. Before he got on the plane, he sent me this question.
Up onto this plane, I had to get your thoughts on this whole Travis Etienne, Liam Coen comments after Monday's practice, where he basically stated that it was absolutely inaccurate. The recent reports that came out, surrounding Travis Etienne and how the team feels about him. A lot of people are kind of putting some heavy emphasis on the early parts of his quote after Monday's practice, basically stating everything that the team has asked him to do. He's done at a good click for us. His ability in the screen game to hand him jet sweeps, his vision so far in the run game's been good. He's done everything we've asked him to do and more, and there's been a consistency. Again, it's one of those things where he can shine in ways in space. Okay, I think that was a very good comment, but what say you? What are your thoughts on this whole, Travis Etienne and where he's going to land in this 2020?
So he mentions Liam Coen's comments here. Let's see what Coach Coen had to actually say for a little bit of context there.
So far, he's done every day, everything we've asked him to do. He's done at a good click for us. The ability in the screen game to hand him jet sweeps, his vision so far in the run game's been good. He's done everything we've asked him to do and more. There's been a consistency. Again, one of those things where, he can shine in ways in space. It's really hard to see a runner in this setting. Are they going to get the hard, physical, tough yards? Are they going to be able to stick their foot in the ground and get those, physical, violent yards that we're going to need? That's hard to really kind of grade at this moment. He's done a great job. I don't really understand some of the stuff I've kind of seen out there. That's absolutely inaccurate.
So that's that absolutely inaccurate piece that Travis was referring to from Liam Coen there. I'll let you bake and marinate on it first. What do you make of the Travis Etienne situation, and does Coach Coen's comments adjust anything for you?
I'll say this. He definitely laid it on thick, like he laid it on that Duval when he first was the coach, named the coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I brought that up. I was honored to be part of the
him. But yeah, he laid it on a little thick in terms of he can do everything and all those different things he said. But it's clear that he's intrigued by his abilities. Of course, he's talking about these things, doing them in shorts, not necessarily in pads. And one other thing he said is, you can't really tell about the tough yards and things like that because they're out there pretty much in shorts. So I think once that happens, you'll get a maybe a truer assessment of what he thinks of Travis Etienne, in my opinion. But right now, he's intrigued by the things that he can do athletically and just the different things that he, I guess can bring to this offense. But also you have to remember, Liam Coen is a guy that loves multiple running backs. So just because he's pumping up this running back doesn't mean that Etienne is going to be the guy and that's it. You're going to see probably multiple running backs in this backfield. That's just the way Liam Coen does. Check his tape in Tampa Bay last year. Bucky Irving ended up being the starting running back. He wasn't even the first guy on the depth chart last year to start the year. So I just take it as, he's kind of pumping them up a little bit. He's intrigued with the abilities, but let's pump the brakes because, they haven't put the pads on yet. So he can be like, okay, cool. Let me get a true vision of what all you really can be with the pads on.
Well, and I think there's a huge element of other things that show evidence that there may be. Sure, he laid it on thick. What else is coach supposed to do? No, I think Etienne's terrible. He's bad. We got to cut. He's going to get cut. I don't even know why he's here. He's here because we're paying him. He's here so he doesn't get fired. He's basically Marshawn Lynch. No, obviously that's not how it's going to go, right? But I do think there are some elements and nuggets of truth in the statement. You mentioned Etienne's other skills in the finesse part of the game. And I don't mean finesse. I know people use finesse as a dirty word. That's a nice way of actually saying dude is fast and can do things. And let's be clear, with the departure of Evan Ingram, which in my opinion is mutually beneficial, both for the Jags not having to pay him to play in an offense that he's not a perfect fit, and Evan Ingram going to a guy that made Jimmy Graham so prolific when he was franchised. They actually had some sort of an arbitration as to whether or not he was a receiver. That's a win-win, right? And I think Etienne, kind of to your point, may fill that gap, taking nothing from Brenton Strange, of course, but may take that gap as another check down option where previously Evan Ingram may have been used. I would imagine the running back would be put into there, and who knows? I haven't watched as much film as Travis D. Holmes typically does, but I don't know that he would utilize the opportunity of maybe a split back situation. And if you don't like Tank Bigsby as a blocker, we've been talking a bunch about Hines-Allen on this show, and I haven't even mentioned Bashaw Tootin yet, General. So yeah, there's still a lot of there. I think you nail a lot of points with him going down the line. And at days in, even fiscally, Mike, it's not advantageous for the Jags to do anything as crazy as cut Travis Etienne or anything like that. That's because of the whole him being on his 5th year and all that. I think it's nice for him to come out and show a little love for his guy. And who knows, maybe if there's truth to the rumors of how well he does or doesn't take care of his body, maybe this is the kind of stuff that motivates him to perform well, as players do sometime for a brand new coach. I think there's a lot of there. I think while he is laying it on thick, I'm not going to deny that. I think there's some truth in the matter there too. So I don't know. Do you feel like Travis Etienne is playing more to audition for another team, or is he playing to try to get paid by the Jags in all reality?
In all reality, I definitely think he's playing to audition for another team. I do not think that he will be back in Jacksonville in 2026. I do think that he's a talented running back, but I just think that, the guys they drafted, plus, Tank Bigsby still being there, I think that they kind of go with those guys and develop those guys, and that Etienne plays well enough to get another contract, but just not with them. Also, I would say that, when it goes to Etienne, I mean, I would not. I'm gonna throw something out there, and you probably, people might be like, "Whoa, is he really just gonna say this?" But I will say that maybe, just maybe, Liam Coen is pumping him up to perform to potentially trade him mid-season. By the way,
that's a fine point. I'm not gonna rule that out. They start getting to that part where people get a little more desperate, maybe play a little bit different price. That's fascinating. And then to start doing that at this point, well, hey, I've been saying it since training camp. That is something I hadn't thought of. But hey, listen, I'll put it this way, General. It was last week that we had our crazy hot takes episode as it stands. We'll be talking a bit about something, your opinion on that on the next episode. There, I was pumping that up a little bit for what's coming Friday. But I think there is a certain element too, and actually, Cedric Holmes just dropped it in the comments. I'm not going to be able to say it better than that. Drafting 2 running backs right in his face is a message sent loud and clear. I got to say, maybe there's an element of trying to mitigate what that says. I mean, it's not exactly Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay a few years back, but it is of that ilk, and I think there's an element of that too that we have to consider to kind of massage that in there. Last word to you, General, if you got anything else you want to add to that.
I'll say this, Jacksonville Jaguars, they're definitely the hype. The energy is there this year, but hey, just remember, take it one game at a time. Don't dive all the way in off top, because sometimes when you dive all the way in, you might run into something you just did not expect. And then, I will say this, there's plenty of teams in this division that ran into things they did not expect last season. So just say one game at a time. One game at a time. I think just take it one game at a time. That's all I can say. and learned some things from Liam Coen. He tried it out there his first time, gave us the Duuuval, and then he kind of fixed it and learned and got better. So with this team, maybe things that they didn't do well last year, they learned from, they grew, and they can do them better this year to compete for the AFC South crown.
There's a lot of there that I like, General. There's a lot of there. I'll put it this way. Balky is gone, and as a fellow 49er fan, the healing can begin. That's the real win.
Yes. I mean, honestly, I still was trying to figure out how did he get that job, one, and two, how was he staying there? But that's no more to think about because he is gone. I tried to tell people, but people were telling me I was crazy and wrong. I was like, okay, just wait.
Man, listen, to the choir, you preach on that anyways. General, tell the world where you could be found, my friend.
Well, you can find me on Blue Sky and on the artist formerly known as Twitter. That's how I kind of respond to it. You can find me there.
Man, you can't tell people you're on X in public. They get the wrong idea. I'm with you with everybody.
But you can find me on the artist formerly known as Twitter and Blue Sky at Mike Patton 82. That's MikePatton 82. Of course, you can find me on my show, Touring the AFC South. You can find it on all listening platforms, and you can find it on the Mike Patton Network, which is on YouTube.
Excellent, man. Hey, listen, say what you will about how I endorse the General and what he does. It's not just having him here. It's not even just having him here on this show. Doing it for the first episode with Believe Network says a ton of how we feel about the General. And oh, by the way, both Travis and I have been on his show more than once. That's how much we dig the General. And actually, we're graced to even participate in that. Goodness gracious. Mike, thank you so much for being on tonight, dude. I really was excited to do this one. For those of you out there who couldn't tell, but of course, I'm Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky, as well as the Facebook page, of course, at the SOTG on those. The student of the game on Facebook. And, of course, check out my writings with the Fans First Sports Network covering your Jacksonville Jaguars and the Orlando Magic. Hey, the NBA draft's coming up. I will be paying attention to that very shortly. And I told everybody that playing the Magic would impact a team in the second round. I warned you, Celtics. Anyways, of course, check out my work as well with the UCF Knights on the blackandgoldbanneret.com, with the Night Shift podcast, as well as the Night Shift YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to that there as well. But most importantly, the Duval Dive, like and subscribe, do all the things. Wish Travis D. Holmes well while he is out of the country, of course, at Travis D. Holmes for him on all the socials and the things. He got in there early enough to get his full name in there. I have no idea how he pulled that off, but he did it. Anyways, for Touring the AFC South, it's Mike Patton. I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game. Until next time, everyone, class dismissed.